This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's Worst 250 so you don't have to.
My name is Abigail Ward.
And I'm Michelle St. Clair.
And tonight we watched In the Name of the King, a dungeon siege tale. A man named Farmer sets out to rescue his kidnapped wife and avenge the death of his son. 2 acts committed by the Krugs, a race of animal warriors who are controlled by the evil Galleon. Let's watch. So Baldur's Gate 3.
Perfect opening.
Listen, let's just talk about it. We're both playing it. Michelle's further through it than I am, but we specifically haven't talked about it because we just wanted to chat about it right here.
Yeah, and also we haven't even talked about it on air yet because at first I was waiting for console, and then also I was, if anything, waiting for you to finally get it.
Well, here's the great thing. I'm very blessed. Last week I just casually said to Claude, like, I really feel like gaming today, like, can I get Baldur's Gate 3 on PS4? And he was like, no, it's just PS5. And I was like, oh, never mind then. And he was like, no, let's go get it right now. Let's go get a PS5. And we jumped in the car and we went to JB and he bought me a PS5.
Incredible.
I know. And we bought Baldur's Gate. Like he was like, I can't believe I'm spending this much money just to watch you play Baldur's Gate 3. But he was like, as soon as you get it, you have to start downloading it so you can play it tonight.
Yeah.
We watched a couple of episodes of something while it downloaded, and then I got straight into it, and it is so fun.
It's so good. I only just realized we should play it together because you can do that. We can make characters to play with each other.
Yeah. But I mean, like, we should do it after our first main run-throughs for sure.
Sure.
It's just I'm not very good.
Yeah, that's fine.
As a player.
That's okay.
But I'm sure you're very good.
Thank you.
And I'm not.
You.
No,
that's
I know
okay.
you are.
But that's what I mean. I'll pick up the slack.
Yeah, there's a lot of slack to pick up. I'm on explorer mode.
Oh, wow.
And even then, sometimes I'm like, oh, combat's so hard and scary.
Whereas I've been a dungeon master for 8 years, so I fully went in knowing all of the rules and how it works. It was just learning the controls more than anything.
I'm really loving how much I am learning about a lot of like D&D through this game, because it makes you interact with spells and it gives you a lot, because I love D&D, but the last thing I want to do sometimes is like read a full book about it, like and read pages upon pages of information. But this game means that you can learn it kinesthetically through experience and through action.
I feel like you would have always been really good at minis, which we never did when we were playing together. I feel like you would have thrived with minis.
What are minis?
Like miniatures. Some people play it with miniatures and squares Warhammer? And stuff. Yeah, sort of. Yeah. But like, because it makes it more kinesthetic, you can more directly see the impact of your thing rather than your usual move of like, I don't know, I run up and I punch him in the face.
Yeah,
like, you don't use your sword or a spell, and you're like, no. And
I know.
Okay, you did 2 damage.
It's true. But this game has like made me actually understand a lot more different tactics that I can take as a player, because you can really explore the options. And I've really enjoyed just being like, this probably won't work, but I just want to see what happens when I do it anyway.
Yeah.
And like, I feel safe to explore that. Also, Claude is such a dork and he loves high fantasy anything, which is why he was so keen for me to play it as well. But he, just so you know, and just so our listeners know as well,
for me. Forget about the listeners.
Well, because we were also in a fantasy mood because of Baldur's Gate 3, I told you we watched the Dungeons & Dragons new movie that came out.
Yeah, that's right.
Which we really enjoyed.
I really loved that movie too.
I really liked it. I thought it was really funny. We had a great time.
It's a great movie.
I was very engaged and happy the whole time.
I wish desperately it did better. The practical effects were really good.
Me too. Yeah, 100%. And we actually watched it because we were watching Freaks and Geeks. And then Claude was like, what happened to that kid? Like
John
Sam
Francis
Weir.
Daly.
And I was like, he's incredibly successful as a writer and director. He did Game Night and he did the new Dungeons & Dragons film. And he was like, let's watch it right now. We loved it. Anyway, Claude is a massive fan of the original Dungeons & Dragons movie from 2000, which is on the list.
Yes, it is.
And he asked if he could be a guest on the episode, if you'd be open to it.
I'm open to it.
My husband could be a guest on the... Because he loves it. He's passionate about that film.
Yeah. Hey, look, we'll do that if you promise that we can find a way to do my long wish of getting my mum on for an episode, a bonus about Lake Placid.
I would love that.
Hell yeah.
But anyway, back to Baldur's Gate 3. You're playing as...
I'm playing against type. This shouldn't surprise the listeners that I normally play as like sorcerer wizard type. I normally play as human or elf. I mean, here's the thing. Some trans people often go with the non-human, like either, a classic is a tiefling or one of the more bestial races and stuff, because it's like, I'm not feeling at home in my body. This externalization as a separate avatar helps me process that. And I get that. Yeah. I do. I am one of the people who has the opposite approach. I'm like, I want it to be the most like person-like person, because rather it's like it's already my fantasy that I can engage with
being a person.
Yeah, is that I'm a person that people think of as a person.
And you like doubted you had autism.
Yeah, I did for a really long time. Yeah. I would say things like, I don't really get what people are doing, and I feel like a little gremlin.
I feel like an alien in a human body.
People are like, that's just Michelle. Anyway, this time I went fully the stereotype. I'm playing a tiefling bard, or the gayest thing I possibly could, and I'm romancing Shadowheart. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, there was a bit where I was like, I wish instead I had gone with Karlach. She's very fun and enjoyable. And without spoiling anything, Act 2 is very Shadowheart heavy.
Yeah, that's what Claude said.
And by the end of it, I'm like, I'm so glad I went with this decision.
Really?
Her whole shtick is religious trauma.
Right.
Which is something that, I don't know. I mean, like,
She's got that artifact on her.
Yeah, she does.
Act 1.
She does.
Which she's very cryptic about. And she approves every time you don't push her for information.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Well, she's also interesting. They give you hints. Like, Astarion is...
Oh, fuck Astarion. I fucked him off immediately.
I get why people like him, because he's fun and funny, but he's
not
genuinely evil.
He's so annoying.
Yeah.
He's annoying and evil. So first time I meet him, I'm like, well, you were trying to like stab me. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And then he's like, may I join your party? And I was like, absolutely not. And then I left him at camp. And then after he tried to fucking suck my blood because he's a little vampire, I told him to leave. And then you run into that guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm looking for this vampire called Astarion. And I was like, I know exactly where he is. Go get him, champ. I fully like made him go get Astarion. No time for that character.
But that's the thing. Astarion, he loves it when you do the wrong thing because he's a bad person.
He's so annoying.
Genuinely.
And then like Gale. Gale's sweet.
Gale's really sweet.
He has good morals and
ethics.
Does.
As does Karlach.
I haven't met Karlach yet.
She's a great example of like chaotic good. She loves when you do the right thing, irregardless of the law.
You told me that right now your companions are Lae'zel, Shadowheart, and Karlach, and I reckon that's probably going to end up being what I go for as well. Because I've sent Lae'zel away and I miss her. I want her back.
I didn't like it because like in the opening bit, she's fun, she's incredible. Then immediately after, she's so mean to you, and I'm like, I'm not vibing with this. Gale seems really cool. I'll get him instead.
Yeah.
For one, I had such a squishy party before I met Karlach. But also I was like, let me do some of Lae'zel's quest. And again, no spoilers, but it made me go like, I'm fully on her side. This is now girl quest.
Yes.
I'll do Gale and Will next run through.
Well, Claude said that he felt like the game really, because he's almost at the end of his run through. He really binged it because he was able to play it on PC when it came out a month ago. But he is almost at the end of it, and he said that he thought the developers really put a lot of effort into the characters of Shadowheart and Lae'zel more so than others.
Yeah.
And like it was almost like the feeling was he was like, for you, he was like, I think you'd get a lot out of it if you kept them around because the story elements are so strong with them.
I will say Shadowheart ties a lot into the second act. Lae'zel has a lot to do with stuff to do with the main story. In that if you left her, you'd still have a full, complete main story, but she definitely supports some of the stuff that's going on.
That's why I reckon I'll do the exact same group as you. As much as I like Gale, I also don't enjoy playing as a wizard that much. Like I don't enjoy, like I do love Missile Strike.
Oh, yeah.
Missile Strike.
Magic Missile?
Magic Missile.
Yeah. It's great.
It's great.
Sometimes someone's like around a corner and you can just get him.
100% accuracy.
That's good fun shit.
Yeah. So like there's some strengths to him, but like I'm fine to dispose of him.
I'm just happy getting my queer romance because that's what I was going to say is that, Astarion's baddie. Not Lae'zel, sorry. Gale and
what did you say? Astarion's baddie?
Baddie.
Okay, yep.
Gale and Karlach, clear goodies.
Yeah.
Will's got some strong morals too. Shadowheart is like, fuck you, I'm going to blow you off. I like doing the wrong thing. And then when you do the right thing, like help people, Shadowheart approves.
She loves it.
Yeah. There's layers to this girl. And I don't know. To me, it resonates. The queer aspect of it, the love story angle of it. Oh, I am so into it.
So because I was playing it and I told Tony that like Claude got me a PS5, he got the game as well because he wanted to play it. Everyone's playing it. And he said, I really enjoyed his journey on it. He's made himself a drow.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, I want to fuck the wizard, but I don't trust him. We didn't tingle in the head when we met. And I said, the wizard as in Gale? Who's in your party? And he didn't respond to that. Instead, 12 hours later, he said, I'm going to make Gale ride my giant uncut drow dick.
I did notice similarly as a tiefling, I got an extra penis option and I picked that. And
really?
It turns out tiefling penis slightly larger.
Wait, an extra penis option?
Yeah.
Well, okay, gotcha. I thought you meant like you could have two penises.
No, not a second, not a second penis. Just in addition to
an extra penis size,
with without pubic hair,
yeah,
with without circumcision.
Yeah,
there's a tiefling specific penis that I picked.
Yeah, Claude played as a wizard, like a dwarf wizard, and he had a giant schlong.
That's fun.
He really enjoyed it. Little chode, big chode dick.
Well, I think it's just comparative. I don't think they have that. Like, there's no slider, you know.
Yeah. Well, speaking of high fantasy.
Oh, I was so worried you were going to go speaking of big chode dicks.
Yeah. This week we watched In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale.
Abby.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
So much of the movie, I was like, the first thing I want to know, and I'm going to fucking lose it if the answer is no, is this adapted from anything? Because the movie communicates as if it definitely is. So certainly whatever the fuck a Dungeon Siege Tale is.
Have you played Dungeon Siege?
Is that a game?
Yes.
Thank you.
I actually thought, because it's you, I just I foolishly assumed you would know.
Is it a computer game?
It is. And in
fact...
That's
why I haven't played it.
Yeah. And it's actually a game Claude loved, because when he saw me watching it today, he was like, I have been playing Dungeon Siege like all year, like as a nostalgia throwback trip. And he showed me what it looks like as a game. It is a game because... Guys, this was also directed by Uwe Boll.
I fucking blew my mind. Like when the movie ends,
he is known for adapting to video games.
Yeah,
because he's done Postal.
Yeah,
we've met him before.
I lost my fucking mind watching this whole movie, going like, is this books? What is this? This is such a strange movie, and then it just goes like a Uwe Boll film, and I was like, what the fuck was that,
dude? Yes, this film was such a good time to research. But let's say off the bat, because this is an important detail for the both of us, it was 2.5 hours long.
It was 2 hours 40 minutes.
It was a long movie.
This is, I think, the longest movie we've had to watch.
Yeah, really?
2 hours 40.
No, what about Turks of Kyrgyzstan?
Thugs of Hindustan.
Turks of Kyrgyzstan.
There's got to be a movie called Turks of Kyrgyzstan. No, not at all. Kyrgyzstan's a real place. Turks live. I mean, they're a Turkic culture.
Thugs of Hindustan.
You're right. Well, how long was Thugs of Hindustan?
I know it was long. Close to 3 hours.
Oh, I mean, but so was this.
Yeah.
You're right. And also, now that I think about it, Ra1 was pretty long.
It was very long. The only thing that could beat this is a Bollywood film. So
Ra1 was 2 hours 30. That's shorter.
And Turks of Kyrgyzstan?
Thugs of Hindustan, 2 hours 45.
There you go.
Wow.
It was a bit longer.
Okay.
Just a bit. But this was a very long watch.
Yeah.
And just as some general info, just for the listeners' sake, it is this big... It is based on Dungeon Siege. And it's this big story of a farmer who has to get his wife back with lots of other shit going on.
Not just a farmer.
He's farmer.
When I saw, in the Plex selection, it was like Jason Statham as farmer, and I was like, okay, is this a thing like how in Tenet he's protagonist? It's like he's just known as that farmer, and then they like his wife is like, well, hey farmer, and I'm like, wait, his name is Farmer?
Yeah. Well, so I was looking up Dungeon Siege.
Yeah.
And obviously I was watching Claude play a bit as well because he was showing me what it looks like.
What genre is it?
Well, I was asking him, I was like, is it all in dungeons or do you farm at any point? Wait, what was your question?
What genre? What kind of game is it?
It's an action role-playing game.
Oh, it's an ARPG. Okay. Is it like a third person when you're watching him play? Is it like you're controlling one guy or is it like a...
it is in third person and you have a party with you. And when Claude showed me him playing, he had 8 party members.
Oh my God.
So you can have a huge party.
Wow.
And he actually said it was quite difficult. He was like, I kept dying at this bit, so I gave up.
Okay.
But he played it a lot as a kid. The first one came out in 2002.
Wow.
It was published by Microsoft and developed by Gas Powered Games.
Okay.
Gas-powered games. It's set in the pseudo-medieval kingdom of Ebb. The high fantasy game follows a young farmer and her companions. And it says her and she because that's the first option. You can play as a girl. But Claude was saying, oh no, you can choose a guy as well. Like you can select which gender, which sex.
But like the canon version is...
The canon version is a girl. It's a girl farmer. And her companions, as they journey to defeat an invading force, are initially only seeking to warn the nearby town of the invasion of a race of creatures named the Krug. The farmer and the companions that join her along the way are soon swept up in finding a way to defeat another race called the Sek.
Oh.
Resurgent after being trapped for 300 years. This did not make it into the film.
No, it did not.
And so it was quite popular at the time. And they also came out with a Dungeon Siege 2 and 3.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And also notably, Jeremy Soule, who did the music for Skyrim, did the music for Dungeon Siege.
Oh, that's fun.
Which is I'm sure it must be very beautiful and atmospheric. So yeah, it was a big success. And so in the early to mid 2000s, Dungeon Siege was all the rage.
Wow.
And then we get this film.
And then we get this movie.
Made by Uwe Boll. And let's take a moment to appreciate, yes, that we know this director. We've met him before.
We've met him before.
I think I had to do Postal because I think I remember doing the research into him last time.
Yeah.
And I just want to remind you as well that what I informed you about Uwe Boll is that he was a German businessman who self-funded a lot of his projects in the 90s, which meant that he got to become a filmmaker. And he was so outraged that people criticized Postal that he challenged them to fight him.
That's right.
He tried to set up brawls with people.
Yeah.
Because he didn't like them criticizing his movie.
As if you didn't do that about fucking Freddy Got Fingered.
I guess me and Uwe Boll have a lot in common. He's a great guy.
Abigail Wood, she's kind of Boll-esque. Yeah. You know, think about it.
Me and Boll, we've got a lot in common. But yeah, and so... Yeah, we're back with Uwe Boll. And look, I'll get into some of the key details because, to be honest, there's a lot to talk about with this film.
Yeah.
And I think to make it make sense, we need to get into the overview. So let me give you some key details first.
I want to know everything about this movie because it makes my little like lore monkey brain go burr, you know? Like, give me all them deets because this movie's so loose with it. It really wants... I feel like it wants you to go, look at this whole world we have, but communicating so little about it that it doesn't really make sense and it doesn't really feel like there's a whole world there.
Well, yeah, it doesn't feel like there's a whole world there because there isn't really a whole world in the Dungeon Siege game. The lore is very thinly developed in the games and they really extrapolated on very little.
It's pretty thin in this too, yeah. And also, it's so fascinating to me that in the games, the canon character is a female character. The canon character is a girl because this movie has this very specific masculine energy to it, but I'll get into that.
Yeah. Okay. Directed by Uwe Boll. Written by Doug Taylor. And it was made for $60 million.
Oh, that's both cheaper and more expensive than I thought.
How much do you think it grossed in the box office?
This movie? This movie with this stacked a cast?
Yeah.
That I've never heard of before in my life. This came out, what, like 2007, 2008?
2007.
2007. Literally never ever heard of it. Honestly, generously, I think it made $20 million.
$13 million.
Oh, how is it still lower? Oh my God. That's so bad.
I know. And yes, it came out 2007, 3.8 stars on IMDb.
Oh.
And it does have a stacked cast. We've got Jason Statham returning after his fantastic debut in our list in The Meg.
In The Meg.
It has Lily Sobieski, who I love. Lily, and she plays Muriela, the blonde princess.
Oh, yes,
princess, the daughter of what's his name, Merrick.
Yeah.
But Lily Sobieski was in, and I've mentioned this film before on this podcast. I always go back to like 3 films. One of them is Bride of Prejudice, and this one is Jungle to Jungle.
Oh, you have talked about Jungle to Jungle before.
The story of a young jungle boy that is adopted by his American high finance father and taken to New York City, a concrete jungle. Lily plays like the love interest in that as a younger girl. So I have a real allegiance to her.
And
John Rhys-Davies plays Merrick, her father. And
literally one of my notes is just, oh my God, it's Gimli.
Yeah, Fantasy King. Ron Perlman is back.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times that means he's been in the list so far? Because he's been in Island of Dr. Moreau.
That's it.
And that's it? Are you sure?
I went through pretty closely.
Really?
And he's not on the website as an all-star. Okay. And I double-checked on his Wikipedia. So
this is just his second appearance.
Just his second appearance.
I don't know why I thought it was his third maybe, but he plays Norik. We've got Claire Fellaini playing the wife Solana.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Kristana Loken playing Elora, who's like that wood nymph.
Oh, yeah.
Matthew Lillard is in it.
Yeah, back from Wing Commander.
Yeah, back from Wing Commander. It's his second appearance. We've got Ray Liotta playing Galleon, the villain. Ray Liotta, him making out with Lily Sobieski in that opening scene was not what I thought I was going to see.
Who I could have sworn he was in the list before, but I might just be thinking about how I desperately want to do a bonus episode on Revolver, the Guy Ritchie movie, and he stars in that. Yeah. Also, he's the only one who's not doing an accent, and it's so funny.
His whole performance is fucking hilarious.
Everyone else is like, my king, my lord, and he's like, listen to me, huh?
Yeah.
Listen, we're going to go do this.
Stop yelling at me. I didn't come here to be lectured. And then we've got Burt Reynolds as King Conrad.
Back from Striptease.
Yes. And back with a lot more face filler as well. The plastic surgery on that man in this film is distracting.
Yeah, because he looks the same as Striptease, and that was 20 years earlier.
He's got that weird pulled cat eye look under his helmet as the king, and you can just see where he's had his facelift. It's such a weird
I wished he powdered once, because he would have been serving, with the cat eye.
So amazing cast. Incredible, as you say, stacked cast. Full of some fucking legends.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to also touch on Uwe before we get into the film itself, because again, we've met him before, and I find him fascinating because he's unhinged and he's like a child with a big bag of money that's throwing it at the film industry.
Well, watching Postal, I remember, was the experience of like fully hating someone for making something, and then by the end of the runtime being completely on his side.
Yeah.
It's incredible how you could never describe any part of his movie and have someone understand why you like him without the actual experience of watching it.
Yeah. And, well, as I mentioned, he enjoys challenging his critics to put up or shut up boxing matches. His production company issued a press release stating that Boll would challenge his 5 harshest critics each to a 10-round boxing match. To be eligible, the critic must have written 2 extremely negative reviews of Boll in print or on the web in 2005. The fights are documented in the film Raging Boll.
Raging Boll is perfect.
Yeah. We have to watch it as a bonus.
Absolutely.
We have to watch the Raging Boll. He considered fighting comedian Ron Sparks when he challenged critics to a boxing match during the filming of Postal, but ultimately declined because of Sparks' age, height, and weight advantage, and due to the fact that he'd be fighting several challenges back-to-back. Boll ultimately defeated every opponent in the matches.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Every opponent. He knocked all of them out.
It's the only funny options are if he wins every single one or loses every single one. Anything else is not funny, and that is so funny.
Here's a very inspiring quote by him as well on the subject of fighting these people. That is the most bullshit business with bullshit idiots, one after the other lined up behind each other. You know, they're all fucking each other in the asses and nobody makes any decisions. All the actors I ever worked with, Ben Kingsley, whatever, are fucking pussies, nothing else. They are in the assholes of their managers, agents, and publicists and attorneys. Inspiring words.
Oh my God.
And I also found that apparently, this is just a piece of trivia on Uwe that I found, which was so fascinating. He cites the Trevor Howard Marlon Brando version of Mutiny on the Bounty as the film that made him want to be a movie director. Mutiny on the Bounty with Marlon Brando is considered one of the most horrific production experiences in history. It's another case of Marlon Brando going fully crazy in the Pacific.
What is with that guy?
And driving everyone nuts.
Stop taking him to the Pacific. He doesn't like it.
I think it's almost like a prophecy that would be the film that inspired him.
So never do a land war in Asia. Don't invade Russia. Don't take Marlon Brando to the Pacific.
Yeah. And I found this quote from him. It was listed on his IMDb page as a quote, which made me laugh. The quote is this: "I do not play video games." Which is so fascinating because he's hinged his career on them.
Oh my God, incredible.
So here's the overview of the film we now turn our attention to.
Yeah.
And it's longer than mine usually are because it was a lot to do.
Yeah, there's a lot going on and it's a long movie.
To be honest, it's mostly front half stacked because the back half is just fighting.
And kind of loose.
It's really loose.
It did not need to be that long.
There was so much setup in the first half and not much going on in the back. Okay. In the kingdom of Ebb, a man known only as Farmer lives with his wife, Solana, and their young son. One day, the nearby town and their farm gets attacked by the Krug, creatures known to be primitive and animal-like who are now magically controlled by Galleon, a powerful magus. Is that how you say it, magus?
Well, magus is how you or I would say it as a word. How they say it exclusively in the movie is magus.
Magus. Do they?
Yeah. It's even one of my notes is, did he say magus? They only say magus. You are the magus.
I think John Rhys Davies at one point says magus, but that must be it.
But I think he maybe says magus.
Oh,
but they definitely do a hard G every single time.
It should be magus, right?
Yeah, or like a mage or a magi, you know?
Yeah.
No.
Who seeks to rule... Okay, Galleon, a powerful magus who seeks to rule Ebb. Farmer's son is killed and his wife is taken prisoner, so he sets off to find her. King Conrad, meanwhile, and his soldiers survey the damage. Merrick, another magus who works for the king, has a daughter named Muriella who fell in love with the evil Galleon. She ends her romance with him after seeing his dark nature. Meanwhile, Conrad's nephew, Duke Fallow, is in league with Galleon and takes a company of Ebb soldiers for his own. Conrad leads his army to fight Galleon. When the farmer attempts to rescue Solana from the Krug, he gets knocked out but is rescued by Merrick. Farmer is taken to King Conrad, where Merrick reveals that Farmer is Conrad's long-lost son and his real name is Camden Conrad. A battle erupts between Ebb's army and the Krug. The Krug retreat, but Fallow succeeds in mortally wounding Conrad, who declares Farmer his son before dying. Farmer, who is now the new king, launches an attack on Galleon's forces. It autocorrected. On Galleon's forces. Merrick dies as a result, but Farmer kills Galleon and finds his wife Solana, who is pregnant with their second child. The Krug go back to normal and the kingdom is saved. The end.
Nice. That's actually surprisingly succinct.
Good.
For what the thing was.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie, I was a little confused at the beginning before I realized, like, this is a very, like, Dark Age. It's clearly Dark Ages England inspired, right? Because it's got the very, like, North European, Scandi sort of, like, structures and buildings and stuff. But then, you know, the fact that the king is dressed sort of Roman, I'm like, oh, it's still Romanized before they have, like, the newer full medieval era.
And also, like, some of the shots of the... you know, the landscape and these old Dark Ages buildings, which are like made out of a lot of straw and thatch and timber, was actually quite beautiful when it wasn't overexposed or desaturated to shit, which Uwe did chronically in this film, where there'd be this like exterior shot and the exposure was so high, everything was white and yellow.
Yeah.
It was just awful.
If someone was asking me to describe this movie, I would just say brown.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the whole thing is like the color of hay.
Yeah, definitely. But there's some nice exterior shots.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but sure, but they're landscapes.
Yeah,
it's and a shoe-in.
Landscapes.
Yeah, sure. Who does it? A lot of places are very beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like Uwe Boll's films, like the feeling, and I actually was thinking this before I realized it was Uwe Boll who directed it. Yeah. I was like maybe 10 minutes into the film, and the feeling is like, it is like a child playing behind the camera and like a child sitting in the editing suite being like, and then it will be happy and it will be a nice moment. So then I'll put in some music behind it that goes like, doo 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 doo. And it's them saying nice things to each other. And then something goes wrong, but I don't really know what goes wrong next, but we'll figure it out. It's like a child manufacturing a story. In that way, I feel like he could make a really, like, it's opera because it's operating on its basest instinct. It's punk, you know, it's like punching you in the face. Where that falls apart is something that requires a lot of political intrigue and is trying to sustain your interest for 2.5 hours. Yeah. But it does mean at moments you're like, oh, you're fully in it, kinda. What I was trying to find out, which I couldn't, is why all of these great actors agreed to an Uwe Boll film. Because he didn't have a good reputation. He'd already come out with Alone in the Dark, and Alone in the Dark was 2004 and considered, it's on the list. Oh, yeah. A lot further down. It is considered one of, and truly, one of the most cited worst films of all time. People froth it. It's become a cult film. That came out in 2004. And then Postal and this came out in the same year.
Yeah.
But what did all the actors he raked in for this film see in him as a director?
Well, you know
Why
what?
did they say yes?
My housemate walked past at one point when I was watching it and said, "Whoa, stacked cast." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm pretty sure this came out late 2000s. This is none of their peak.
Yeah.
None of them are Ray Liotta's height of career was not 2007. Burt Reynolds was not flooded with critically acclaimed offers in 2007.
But Jason Statham was doing fine.
But he wasn't Jason Statham yet.
No. No, but he'd already done Snatch. That was 5 years prior.
Sure, but is 5 years prior to 2007? I think that was in 2007.
Snatch?
Yeah. Oh, Snatch. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Crank. Yeah, no. You're right. Snatch was prior, but also... Yeah. That's just because it was Guy Ritchie, the guy that got him his start in Lock, Stock. At the same time, Jason Statham is known for being discerning? That guy says no to roles because he's like, this script isn't good enough.
That's true.
Come on. Also, he sticks out like a sore fucking thumb in this movie. You look at Statham and you're like, that guy's perfect as like a medieval knight, drinking mead, sowing fields. He's got it. He is so obviously not from the medieval era. Everyone else fits in, and despite what conservatives say, all of the black people are not fucking... It actually made me kind of happy. I was like, oh, cool, they've got a surprisingly diverse cast for this very English-inspired medieval world. Jason Statham is so modern and new. Everything about the way he moves and the way he talks, they're all like, oh, my lord. And he's like, listen, you've got to do what you've got to do. Yeah. And you're like, this guy's not from here.
It's because he can't act. He's always Jason Statham.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he's never played a role in his life. He's literally just drawn on his own Cockney experiences being a larrikin and all.
In the Fast and Furious movies, when he's like against them, he wasn't meant to do that. He's just like that. He just started fighting them. Yeah.
Yeah, this film was, oh my god, it was so long, but it was such a good time. And as we said, Ray Liotta did the weirdest performance of all, in my opinion.
So strange.
Which is funny because I was looking it up, and apparently there were a lot of like Golden Raspberry nominations.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I think Uwe Boll won for like worst director or worst picture or whatever. But the two actors that got nominated for like worst actor and worst actress from this film, worst actor, Burt Reynolds, and then worst actress, Lily Sobieski.
Oh, that feels a little unfair.
I know. Look, she was giving it 20% at all times, but back off.
That's like 50% more than anyone else.
Yeah. There is that scene where she's sitting in bed and Ray Liotta, and by the way, it is weird that Ray Liotta and Lily Sobieski are like meant to be romantic interests.
At the very least, when there's like he's evil.
Yeah, there's a 30-year age difference between them, and she was probably 23 during the time of this filming. She's a baby.
I at least am like, well, at no point is the movie like this is romantic or healthy. They're like immediately like he's being a fucky.
Hated watching them kiss. But
fucky.
she's in bed and he appears in front of her in her bedroom. Yeah. And she's like always like, can you like stop doing that?
That's
like, really
teleports
weird.
there. Does he have the power of teleportation?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
He teleports to her room, or at least he's a holograph. Is that what you would call it? Hologram. Maybe. I don't know. He's there and he's talking to her and she is suspicious of him and basically wants nothing further to do with him. And he is really aggressive in that scene and he's like, I did not come here for a lecture. And he starts yelling at her and intimidating her and saying that he will take her by force.
Yeah.
Like he'll rape her. And she's sitting there and in that performance, she gives 0. And I'm like, maybe it's just, her character. But she is just kind of like, be gone. Be gone from my bedchambers.
I think it's like she's trying to be strident.
Yeah.
And like defiant of like, I'm not going to break down. I'm going to go like, I will not.
It did give a bit of nothing, but she still didn't deserve the nomination.
Yeah, I don't think she deserved the nomination.
Yeah. Where was Ray Liotta's is my question.
Yeah.
Awful. In the finale.
Hey, come on.
When Jason Statham and him have that final fight, there was a lot of strange hovering. There's this bit where he's standing on a platform and then he kind of jumps off it and floats down on like a tippy toe to the ground.
Yeah. Well, this is after the fight between him and John Rhys Davies where both of them stand their hands behind backs whilst they, I guess, telekinetically control swords that do fight.
Maguses.
Maguses.
Yeah.
It's magus like maggot, not magus like a mage. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you got to remember it. Get it together.
It was a long viewing. I fully cleaned my entire living room while watching it.
30 minutes. I thought it was regular length for us, and then 30 minutes in, I had to stop it because I was like, "Oh, I gotta go wash my face. I should have done that before. Make some food." And then I came back and I saw that there was 2 hours and 10 minutes left, and I was like, "Oh no! Oh Jesus!"
Cripplingly slow.
I think that's when I texted you, like, "Hey, just feel this is pretty long.
Yeah,
this is a long one."
Also, thank you for the warning, but as I told you, I was still shocked by how long it was going for.
Yeah.
Claude went to the NGV without me today, and he was gone for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
I watched this film in that time.
Yeah. So he came back and he was like, "It's still going?"
Yeah. He was literally like, "Oh, is that the credits?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's all I've been doing."
Yeah.
He's left, and I was like, "Bye, I'm gonna watch this film now."
Oh, also, did I miss something? Why does he know martial arts? Because he's not. It's one thing for it's like he's good at fighting. They want
Farmer, you mean?
Farmer, yeah. It's one he's good at fighting because I think they want us to believe, especially because later Merrick, John Rhys Davies, is saying like it's kind of a good thing that we didn't grab him, otherwise he would have been assassinated. Instead, he learned how to be tough, and I'm like, I think they're implying he's like good at fighting because he's just good at stuff. And that he's strong because he's a farmer.
Chops wood all the time.
Chops wood. But that would make him, like, if he was brawling, I wouldn't question it. I'd just be like, oh, he's good at stuff. But he whips out moves. Like, in the first fight he has against the Krug that are invading the farm, he's, like, doing spin kicks and, like, full-on martial arts.
I don't know if you saw, but in the background of a frame, he somersaulted.
Yeah. he's not even doing
agile.
Western martial arts. He's fighting out his fucking ass. They were like no historical basis for any of it. Well, he's just going to do whatever move comes to him.
Also, I love that there's just a complete absence of like Foley. Like there's like in the fights, it's incredibly silent. Like there's a bit in one of the first fights where he's, pulling out all these fucking like martial arts moves. And then he runs up a little rock to then jump on the back of a Krug. And there's like barely any noise to accompany it. So you almost miss it as a moment. Like you need the thud, you need the swing of an axe, but you get none.
Swing.
Yeah,
when you're in the middle of the fight and then you just swing.
Yeah, but yeah.
And then you get rock hard.
How did you know?
Oh, I know you, Abigail.
Oh my God.
Know you. Yeah, because he really knows how to fight. And like it didn't mean anything to me. In their squat little buildings. I'm not going somewhere with this. I thought I was, but I'm really not. And then later when he's traveling with Ron Perlman and his wife's brother.
Yeah.
I could not ever remember anything about that. Every time he was on screen, I was like, oh, right.
Yeah. The wife's brother was a real nothing character.
Yeah. I think they wanted him to be like Carl Urban in Two Towers.
Yeah.
But he wasn't at all.
I liked Ron Perlman as Norik, but I agree.
Yeah, Ron Perlman. He's Ron Perlman.
The brother-in-law was very meh.
They make a lot of hay about how Merrick knows him, and then that's how he figured it out, and then he just sort of dies.
I cut it out because it was almost too convoluted to explain, and I couldn't think of any simple way to put it. But yeah, there is a whole thing of Merrick figures out that Jason Statham is the son of the king because Norik was meant to adopt him.
Yeah,
was meant to be an adoptive father, and Merrick left him with Norik.
Yeah.
So when he saw Norik, he realized that Jason Statham must be the son. But it's such a convoluted, strange way of figuring it out that I just couldn't be fucked including it.
It kind of made me feel like whoever wrote or developed this story must have read like the Robin Hobb Realm of the Eldling books because there's so much similarities in that and that like this is not spoilers because like the first scene in those books is him as a baby getting handed over to the stable master and it's like, hey, this is the bastard son of the current crown prince chivalry. Okay, well, what do we do with him? And then it like cuts to later when that guy has died and it's like, we'll keep you hidden as we won't tell you about that, we won't tell them about that. And I'm like, this is ripping that off for sure, but like way worse. Those books are fucking incredible.
Our lovely friend Lauren.
She's who got me onto them.
Yes, she gets everyone onto them. And when I saw her in Sydney, she was like, oh, her boyfriend's called Taylor. She was like, I've gotten Taylor into Robin Hobb. And I was like, oh, that's great. And she was like, it's not great. All he does is read. and read. And he doesn't talk to me anymore. He just reads, and he sits on his Kindle and he reads. And then his Kindle broke, and I had to give him my Kindle, and he kept reading. and it was true. He kind of just spent the whole weekend reading. It was fully invested in Robin Hobb. And I was chatting to one of her housemates. So I was like, oh, so what are you reading at the moment? And she went, oh, Robin Hobb. And I was like, Lauren? Did Lauren do it? And she was like, yeah.
They're so good. They're like, some of the best like fantasy prose I think has been written since Ursula Le Guin. Like I like Brandon Sanderson because he writes like it's a movie, so it's very visual. She writes like she's pondering the nature of people and what makes someone want to do right when they're a flawed person.
I should really get on it.
And like literally, because they're split into different trilogies, so it's so approachable. Even though there's so many books, you can go, well, I'm going to read these 3.
Yeah.
You know?
How many are there? Like so how many has she written in the same universe?
I think there's 16 total. It's 5 sets of trilogies, but one of them is actually a quadrilogy.
Okay.
The first, third, and fifth are the same characters. They focus on the main character of Fitzchivalry.
Yeah.
And then
That's
second,
a great name.
And it's great. Well, because it's his dad. The royal family are all named after attributes. So there's King Shrewd and Prince Regal, Prince Chivalry.
You're making me want to read it as well.
But Prince Chivalry is the one who cheated on his wife and had a bastard son, because Fitz being the Germanic prefix for a bastard. So
I didn't know that.
So the name Fitzchivalry is it's a joke. It's a gag.
Fitzwilliam's a bastard?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So yeah, Fitzchivalry is such a perfect little joke of a name there, because it's like the chivalrous guy made a mistake and he's the proof of that. And
that's great.
It's and like
you fully sold me.
The middle trilogy, the first book of it, like cuts to like 20 years later, and it's like pondering the nature of aging and how you find your way in your life when you feel like you've outlived your usefulness, and like they're beautiful.
Could you lend me one?
Absolutely.
Would you be willing to?
Absolutely.
I'll bring it back.
Absolutely.
Where were we?
Well, we're talking about In the Name of the King. Oh, that's right. He uses a boomerang. I fully forgot.
The boomerang to cut himself loose in the forest when he's dangling.
It's not sharp.
It's crazy. And the way it comes back around and cuts right above his ankle, no way could that angle even be feasible.
No. It's like you can have a sharpened boomerang, but that style, I'm so sick of non-Australians, non-Indigenous Australians especially, using boomerangs that are the classic like tourist one that comes back and it's the small, like those aren't actual hunting boomerangs.
Yeah, they're very blunt, they're very curved because they are gifts for people.
And they're I heard from an Indigenous friend of mine, like those are training ones. That's why they come back. The full hunting ones don't need to come back. He was like, you don't need
a blade coming at you?
Yeah.
Like what is essentially a blade hurled back at you?
Well, he said to me, he was like, it doesn't need to come back because you already got to go and pick up the dead roo anyway. And I was like, you're right.
That's so interesting. Yeah, that whole forest scene as well. I love how like they're nymphs, so they're meant to be. But I love how like they're all like strangely sexual, being like, get out of our forest.
So horny.
Get out.
We hate you.
Stop.
Stop it.
This is our forest.
Oh, you came in here without permission.
And then Elora joins the gang. Is that her name? Elora, I think it was. So. And she was a very bland addition.
She was.
She offered nothing.
I like the thing that happens in fantasy movies where you like build up the gang. You know, new members get added, but it felt superfluous. I was like, she wasn't really anything.
It really did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then they fucking, in some of these scenes, God. So remember there's the big fight scene, Duke Fallow, who kind of plays his hand too early, like 4 times.
He tries to poison the king, and then the king doesn't get poisoned, and then the king's like, well, now you're evil, and he's like, but now I'm leaving with an army. And then it just, that kind of cycle repeats again and again.
He does it because that would make him the king, because he's the heir, and he takes off 2 legions, this was one of the things I wrote down because I thought it was really funny. It's a conversation between Merrick and Commander, I forget his name. I really liked that guy.
Oh, Commander Tarish.
Commander Tarish. Yeah. I thought he was good. He
was played by Brian White. He was good.
He was really great. They're having a conversation, and Commander Tarish is telling Merrick, like, Duke Fallow has taken off with 2 legions. He's like, oh, I guess we know who poisoned the king, obviously. And then he's like...
He was sinister from the get-go.
Yeah. He's like, how much of the army remains? And he's like, 1/3. And I'm like, so there were 3 legions. If he took 2, and how did you not know how many was left? If there's 3 and it's 2, what the? Just think about your writing. I hate when there's just no thought put into what you're actually saying.
Also, I did not expect Matthew Lillard to pop up in this either. He popped up before I knew he was going to be in it, and he does the same performance every time. He does. Which is, he's not great as an actor.
No, when he's well utilized.
He's good at acting crazy.
No, but remember him in The Descendants. That's quite a muted performance. He's great in that.
Who was he in The Descendants?
He's the guy that his wife cheats on him with.
I don't even remember him. That's
Maybe
true.
I'm misremembering The Descendants, but he was great.
As a younger man, and all his younger man performances of he's that strange, deranged.
He's a
goofy,
big actor for
he's
sure.
He's a big actor, and he did it again here, being like, "Why?"
But like in Scream, obviously as Shaggy, he's great, but in Scream, that's utilized perfectly.
He's good in Scream,
right?
Yeah, like, surprise, Cindy.
Yeah, I feel like in this, like I'm like, what he's doing is working. He's not being supported at all by the script or the direction.
That's true.
He's doing a good version of a weedy Duke.
I can't blame him. I'll blame the script.
No, I did have one more point.
What?
Which is towards the end, because it's a whole thing. This movie has such weird masculine energy. It feels like it was written by like a Reddit bro who's like, we have to return to trad conservative values of like the farmer, he works with his hand, he's giving to his wife. And, at the beginning, she's like, I just want you to say that you love me. He's like, I do it with my hands, with my work. You should be able to tell.
My hands are broken for you.
Yeah. And then towards the end, the conclusion of that arc is he goes, there's something I've always wanted to tell you. I love you. And I'm like, you have a child together. You've never said I love you? What the fuck is wrong with you?
She's also pregnant with your second child. You've been together for a long time.
Are they married? Like, is she married to this fucking sociopath?
Yeah, she's his wife. Yeah, because I think her dad at the beginning is like, you've done well with your husband, blah, blah, blah. That's insane. Yeah, Claude's never said he loves me.
Oh.
Yeah, he says that he's not sure yet.
But does he toil the fields?
He does, and he breaks his hands for me.
Breaks his hands. Yeah, you've done well. That's a manly, masculine, the true way of living, chopping wood.
And not coming to the markets.
I can't talk to people. That's the wife's business. See what I mean? There's weird energy in this movie.
Something I appreciate about this film is when his son Zeph is killed at the beginning.
Yeah.
They don't show it.
Yeah.
He falls over the krug that is controlled by Ray Liotta. You see him like smirk, being like, well, now I gotcha. But you don't have to see anything.
Yeah.
I appreciated not having to watch a small child die.
Yeah.
It's pretty graphic. Do you want to hear some trivia?
Yeah, I'd love to.
IMDb trivia.
Okay, Michelle. Script development took over a year. In the end, Doug Taylor rewrote 80% of the script because the original story was considered too similar to The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll never know what that was like, but I feel like the vibe of the film, I don't know about you, but when I was watching it, I was like, even though it was 4 years after it finished, you can tell they're still trying to hit the Lord of the Rings notes. In terms of atmosphere and cinematography, I feel like it's a really failed attempt at it.
I think part of it is just that both of them are trying to do like the lost era of England, the Dark Ages thing. And so like it feels similar to Rohan in some ways.
It does feel like Rohan.
But I don't think
like
it's pulling from Rohan. I think it's pulling from the same source.
But it has a very similar visual cinematography.
And the music and all that. I'm with you there.
During production, Uwe Boll sponsored a charity to visit the set. Guests got to see behind-the-scenes work and proceeds were donated to a children's hospital. Ray Liotta was extremely upset by this irregularity. In future interviews, he would talk about how crazy Boll was for allowing so many spectators onto the set.
Like, I kind of get the point he's making, but it's so funny to be like, Uwe Boll, like, really, he was doing a thing for charity where people could see it. Ray Liotta hated it.
The medicine Merrick gives Farmer was actually tea mixed with ketchup. Uwe Boll purposefully concocted the mixture to get a real disgusted reaction from Jason Statham.
Yeah, that
would be fucking disgusting.
That would be disgusting.
Here's just an insight into how fucking crazy he is as a director. In terms of Uwe Boll. The first public cut of the film was completed 8 hours before screening.
What the fuck?
Uwe Boll personally flew the movie from Vancouver to Los Angeles.
So they finished it, and he like
jumped
had the
on
fucking
plane.
DCP, and then he jumped on a plane with it.
Imagine how sweaty his hands would have been the whole time, just like thinking about how he's got his whole project.
No, I think you or I, so sweaty.
Him?
Uwe Boll, the coolest to get him on the plane.
Chill. This is normal. This is how it's done.
Could I get a Coke Zero, please?
While filming an outdoor fight scene, Burt Reynolds grew overheated in his armored costume, became unconscious, and fell from the platform on which the duel was being filmed.
Oh my God.
Reynolds claims this was the only time in his career that he had to miss a day of filming due to sickness or injury.
Is that a brag?
Yeah.
Whatever. Kids, you don't have to kill yourself for your job.
No, you don't.
It's not worth it.
Just rest.
They're just trying to exploit you for capital, you know?
Some of the individual Krug costumes cost over $10,000 to produce.
Really?
Yeah, they weren't that great.
Yeah, I was like, did you see them?
Yeah,
that cost $10,000?
I can't even remember what they look like.
They look like a guy in a suit.
Uwe Boll claims that the 2-hour and 36-minute director's cut of the film is not, in fact, the complete version of the film. Boll claims that an unreleased 3-hour version of the movie was created and featured more scenes of character development. They had a very famous stunt coordinator on set. His name is Su Tung Ching.
Okay.
And his salary was higher than Uwe Boll's.
Yeah, that's fair.
And here's the last piece of trivia. Burt Reynolds extensively rewrote and edited the dialogue for his death scene, thereby creating friction with script supervisor Ingrid Kenning. Reynolds had never before played a character who had died on screen, and he was adamant that the scene be something special.
Really?
I struggle. He has had such a long, profound career, and he's never played anyone dying before.
Did he not die in striptease? Remember how he owned a plantation in that and it was like set in the 80s?
Yeah.
That was nuts.
That was crazy. Do you want to hear some reviews?
Yes, please.
Reviews!
In the Name of the King received extremely negative reviews from critics. Shocker. The film holds a 4% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh my God.
The website's critical consensus reads, featuring mostly wooden performances, laughable dialogue, and shoddy production values, In the Name of the King fulfills all expectations of an Uwe Boll film. The film is also ranked on Rotten Tomatoes' 100 worst reviewed films of the 2000s.
Wow.
Yeah. And in 2008, Time listed the film on their list of top 10 worst video game movies. Also, by the way, I did dive into the Wikipedia page around video game adaptations. And the first one was Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
The next one was a really strange, obscure one. And then the one after that was Street Fighter. And then the one after that was Mortal Kombat 1.
Oh.
Good reviews, fair.
Yeah.
But then after that, Mortal Kombat 2, and that's on the list.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
And it's so low. It's got possibly the worst rating out of all of them.
Wow.
So Mortal Kombat 2 Annihilation, I'm so ready for.
I'm so keen for it.
Yeah. But that list is fascinating to go through. I feel like there's a lot of bonus episodes sitting in there because it's very rare that any of them have over 40% of Rotten Tomatoes.
It's a genre pretty famous for being done poorly.
And it's only started to do well recently. There's been the better reviewed ones have come out recently. Like one of the ones on the list was Detective Pokemon.
Yeah.
Detective Pikachu. Yeah, that had really high ratings. And that was possibly one of the better ones.
I honestly think part of the reason that they were bad, like people thought it was something fundamental about video games they couldn't be adapted. I honestly think it's that for a long time, the adaptations were ordered by executives who didn't really understand video games. And so usually they were seen as second tier things. So people wouldn't give it their A game, but you also wouldn't get the best writers or whatever. And then there'd be a lot of studio notes and stuff. Like this, it's no one's passion project.
Yeah.
And now the key creatives are more and more people who really actually get and like the video game, and they are making it as a passion project and something that they would give the same as like their own original work.
Definitely.
You know?
Definitely. It's now respected as a source material.
Yeah.
Also wanted to mention, because it made me laugh, that Metacritic had an average score of 15 out of 100 for this film, based on 11 reviews, indicating overwhelming dislike. Also, many critics have attacked the film's close resemblances to other fantasy films, particularly Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And here is a 10 out of 10 IMDb review left by Labekums in 2008, and it's called Good Movie, 10 out of 10. Hey, whoever you are, Uwe Boll, pay me. G.A. Jasper, semicolon. Quote, oh, and those 10-star reviews you keep reading? Uwe Boll has to be paying them. I can't imagine anyone out there, even on the internet, is that stupid to consider this a good movie. End quote. How I wish I was paid by who? Uwe Boll for giving this movie full stars. They're clearly in the middle of beef with this person, J.A. Jasper. I couldn't find the original one. I don't care who made it, who the director was, the producer, the writer, or if it was original, based on some game or book. I don't care either who the actors were. I criticize movies based on what it is, a movie. And with that said, In the Name of the King is a good movie, if you look at it. Compared with Lord of the Rings, I can't imagine anyone out there is that stupid to compare this good movie to Lord of the Rings.
What?
Come on. Comparing this movie to Lord of the Rings is like comparing apples to oranges. Two totally different.
But they're both fruit.
This movie's simplicity earned my full star vote. Yes, there are some miscalculations, but overall, don't know what that means, but overall, it is a good movie if you look at it. 10 out of 10. I'm sold.
Oh my god, I'm kind of with them of the like, does it matter about like adaptation and the actors and stuff? Like, what is the actual movie? And then they just hard pivoted to go like, this is objectively a good movie.
Yeah,
craziness.
And saying there are some miscalculations, and we'll never know what that means. This is another 10 out of 10 review left by Cosmic X called Really Well. You are all a bunch of hater. This movie was really cool and awesome. Great film, but if you didn't like it, that's your fault. No taste. I enjoyed the film. Smiley face. Jason was the best in the film. Even though some of you guys make points the movie was not a waste of time. It was cool and fun. Even though the comedy parts that you guys said were kind of true, it was a 9 in my book out of 10. Great actors and a great film. If you don't like films in the name of the king, then this was not for you, so don't bother even writing about it. I did like it, and it was worth a whole Sunday spent. Even took some family members to see it. They liked it too. In my book, it's really well. 10 out of 10.
Nonsense. So listeners, I need you to know that Abby, after almost every single sentence, gave me like a cheeky little like flick her eyes right back at me. And, like, it
was
really
all these ellipses, you know. And here's another 10 out of 10 review left by Simon Cosgrove. Glad we got the full name. Called The Perfect Movie.
Simon Cosgrove sounds like he hosts a like really mediocre BBC morning show.
Yeah. 10 out of 10 called The Perfect Movie. A fast-paced explosion of everything that's good about films. Hope the Krangs were okay after. 10 out of 10. The Krangs.
The Krangs.
And here's a 9 out of 10 review left by Power Metal called What is Wrong with You People? This was fantastic adventure with OCR like creatures and wood sprites. Magic shield armor, bow, axes, breathe, taking. I was blown away. I know expectations. Uwe Boll did it. Yes, he did. Bravo. It's Lord of the Ring light, and that just fine by me. Very epic, wonderful story. Lines awesome bad guy by Ray. It was so great to see Gimli once again. I love that man as an actor, and always will. Glorious. Do not buy the hate. Please give it a chance. It is fun. Must we need more than simple fun and very good battle sequences? Excellent. I would love to see him get the credit he deserves for finally knocking one out of the park. This movie erases all of my bad memories of him. Whoa. Whoa. Give it a chance and don't allow someone else to make up your mind for you as if you were a sheep. 9 out of 10.
Do you think Uwe Boll was Uwe Boll?
I think it's, yeah, and it's but Boll did.
Oh, right.
He said it's meant to say but Boll did it, and it was Uwe Boll did it.
Uwe Boll did it.
I had no expectations. Uwe Boll did it.
My favorite director is Uwe Boll.
Uwe Boll. Well, that was Power Metal's stroke in writing. What's your review, Michelle?
Well, I mean, I do got to say, Uwe Boll did it.
Uwe Boll definitely did it.
He did in the in the Noom of Krang.
I hope the Krangs were okay after.
Dungun Tale. But Uwe Boll's film, In the Name of the King, not super great. Yeah. Like I said, I really don't like the weird energy that like it feels like that like idealized version of medieval past that conservatives and like chauvinists in particular really cling to in a way that like never existed and is complete gibberish.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, like it has the same problem as, this is very niche, but it has the same problem as Final Fantasy XII, which is introduce a protagonist who is unrelated to the plot, and then introduce vastly more interesting political conflict starring everyone else, every other character, and you kind of stop caring about what Jason Statham. Like there's like a 45-minute long stretch where we're just doing the Duke Fallow, Commander Tarish, Commander Tarish and Merrick stuff like that. That's going for like 45 minutes, and then we cut back to Jason Statham and Narek, and they're just like walking through the woods, and I'm like, oh my god, Jesus, this does not feel important at all.
No, not at all.
And it's frustrating. It's frustrating because I really wanted to like it more. I also we didn't talk about the weird decision to green screen so many of the interior locations. Exteriors always landscape. Interiors always green screen.
Yeah, except the exterior where they're on that line trying to get over that gorge. Yeah. That was very clearly green screen.
Yeah, so the CG in this is really, truly atrocious.
I did read that like the CG apparently it was the most he'd ever done. He fired 5 different companies in the pursuit of getting good CGI because he said all of them weren't good enough. And then I read that apparently something like 1,200 shots had digital CGI added to it. That's a lot.
That's a lot. But he did the prequels thing of he wanted the like the castle to feel huge. And so instead everyone is in these like weird, surreal, vast spaces that they don't feel like they're part of. Yeah. Like every time Anakin is in fucking Coruscant, you're like, what is this fucking location? And why is he so clearly on a green screen?
Yeah.
It looks ugly. And it made me think favorably, actually, of Beowulf.
Oh, Beowulf was a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time. And that interior of that castle worked.
Yeah, Beowulf was a better example of this film. Like, Beowulf had a very similar vibe, but somehow it was still terrible, but it actually ticked a lot more boxes.
At the same time, though...
Lengthwise.
Yeah, lengthwise. At the same time, many of these movies have upset me way more. I kind of didn't hate watching this in the way that I have many of these movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. 4. Maybe 4.1. Just tick it over the edge a little.
So your rating is higher than IMDb's?
Yeah. Honestly, I think IMDb is a little harsh. I don't think this movie's good.
No.
But I think...
I will say,
yeah,
I would be on the same page with you about this, but I'm so angry that I spent 2 hours and 40 minutes watching this today.
Oh, sure.
That it gets like an automatic deduction of a point, so I'm going to give it a 3.1. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I watched it over the course of like 5.5 hours. So.
Yeah. I did it in one whole long sprint. I was like, I'm just going to sit down and get this done.
Yeah, I would be a little more sick of it.
I was very annoyed by the end of it.
Yeah, probably should have gotten the theatrical cut, which was shorter.
No, this was the shorter cut.
Oh, this is the shorter cut.
No, the other cut would have been the director's cut, which is 3 hours and something.
Didn't you say the 2 hour, 30-minute director's cut was the...
This was it.
Yeah, but he said the 2 hour, 30 director's cut.
He claims that Uwe Boll claims that the 2 hour and 36-minute director's cut of the film. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That makes me sad.
I know.
Anyway, 4.1. Michelle, it's over.
We done.
Did it.
We did it.
Guys, did you enjoy this? We didn't. If you want to find us on social media, you can. We're on Twitter. We're on X at Rate Descend Pod.
Elon Musk shows up with a gun to your head.
Knife pressed into my back. We're on TikTok under Rating Descending, or you can email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com. It really makes the world a difference.
It really does. Well, if you're like, I've already done that. Where can I find more about these gals? Well, you can find us on the social media that we, to be honest, barely post on. And you can find me on Twitter and X. You can find me on X and Instagram at michelle.stclair.
And I'm on Instagram under Abigail J. Ward.
Also, pretty please, if you could spare just a cheeky little mo to leave us a review wherever you get your podcast. But let's be honest, Apple Podcasts and Spotify is other platforms you can leave a review. So that would be great. That'd be great if you could do that.
Well, that was 2 hours and 40 minutes wasted. What are we watching next week, Michelle?
Next week, we're watching The Adventures of Pluto Nash.
Woo-woo.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy. The Murphster's back, and now he's on the moon.
First he was a vampire, now he's on the moon.
Yeah. First Brooklyn, now the moon. Where's this kid going next?
This crazy kid.
this crazy kid. Oh, wait, we forgot the interlude where he was also a really skinny nerd.
Oh.
After, when he was a really fat professor.
Yes.
What an arc this guy's been on.
This guy, he just keeps sticking around. Will he become an all-star?
This is his 4th time. Yeah, this is his, Stallone matching?
Yeah, join us next week for the crowning of a new all-star.
Bye.
Bye.